Washington President Trump urged senators this month to repeal the Affordable Care Act's requirement that most Americans have health insurance and use the proceeds to slash the top tax rate paid by the richest Americans, a suggestion that pitted his priorities against his daughter and Republican senators intent on helping the middle class. In the end, the president accepted only a partial victory. He got the repeal of the health law's individual mandate, but gave up on an income tax rate cut that would have directly benefited him personally. Instead, Ivanka Trump and her allies in the Senate prevailed in their push to include an expanded child tax credit. This was certainly an uphill battle, especially given that it is not an issue that is as widely understood, said Senator Mike Lee, Republican of Utah and a leading advocate of the expanded child tax credit. We didn't necessarily have the sense that the president was opposed to it. I still don't have that sense. I think if he had been, things would have worked out differently than they did. Two White House officials pushed back against the notion that Ms. Trump had split with her father. They said middle-income tax relief was one of the president's priorities and that Ms. Trump worked in lockstep with the administration on all aspects of tax reform. But the fight is actually continuing. Later this week, Mr. Lee and Senator Marco Rubio, a Florida Republican, will take on another top priority of the president's, cutting the corporate tax rate to 20% from 35%. The senators plan to offer an amendment that would cut the corporate tax rate to 22%, instead of 20%, and use the proceeds to help families with little or no income tax liabilities benefit from the expanded child credit and to allow the child credit to rise with inflation. A White House spokesman, Raj Shah, wasted no time declaring the president's opposition on Wednesday. Mr. Trump was not secretive about his desire for a lower income tax rate for the nation's wealthiest families. This month, he tweeted his desire. But his suggestion that the top rate come down clashed directly with the push to assist the middle class. The president had also pressed to eliminate the estate tax, a provision that would have hugely benefited his heirs. Republicans on the Senate Finance Committee did vote unanimously to add the repeal of the Affordable Care Act mandate to their bill, effectively giving themselves more than $300 billion to spend on additional tax cuts. Then lawmakers went to work to devote that money to priorities other than lowering the top income tax rate or cutting the estate tax. Senators Lee and Rubio enlisted Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, who talks frequently with Ms. Trump, and Senator Dean Heller of Nevada to push the child credit expansion in the Finance Committee. It seemed to me to be common sense if our goal was to deliver as much of a tax break for the middle class on down, Mr. Scott said. The victory somewhat improved the optics of a bill that most opinion polls suggest is unpopular among a majority of the American public. By expanding the credit to $2,000 per child from $1,650, as initially proposed in the Senate bill, Republicans substantially reduced the number of middle-class families who are likely to face an immediate tax increase under the bill.